The asset managers have belonged to groups that are seeking to mitigate climate change by reducing, for example, coal output. Some of them have drifted away from these groups, but Texas sued this morning in federal court claiming that the asset managers are effectively colluding to depress the output of coal and therefore raising energy prices on consumers in the states that sued, including Texas, West Virginia, Montana, Alabama, and so forth, Republican-led states.
How much of this is just kind of loony Ken Paxton, Republican Texas politics?
Ken Paxton does sue a lot, but it's an interesting suit. It's 100 pages long, and I think, just looking it over, they're going to have to show that it was the actions of BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard themselves. They're pushing these portfolio companies to cut down on their coal output. The states are going to have to show that that is what led to the reduction of the coal output, it seems to me, and therefore raise prices on consumers. So to your question, yes, Ken Paxton does sue a lot. Yes, he's got to show all of that, as well as the other states have to show.
I should point out he's the Attorney General.
The Attorney General of Texas, right.
Who himself went through an impeachment proceeding and prevailed.
But I will say that it's I've been looking at it just this morning, it's a carefully written, fairly well-structured suit presentationally. Now, whether it can prove the allegations is an open question.
I always find that funny. I'm learning from Alex Steele, who's our expert here on energy. You think of Texas, you think of oil and gas, but they're also the biggest wind farm people, the biggest solar places are down there in Texas. So they are cranking out a ton of alternative energy.
And in fact, it's those alternative sources that are partly playing a role by competing with coal. One of the forces that may be depressing coal output as well. So again, to show this connection that it's Larry Fink who is driving down the coal output and up the prices is the challenge for the states that are suing. It's quite an interesting suit.
We also know from having read the grid that Texas has its own grid.
Yes.
They're not hooked up to the rest of us.
Right.
That fiercely independent streak that they have.
Right.
Exactly.
And coal output in Texas, I think, is down to 10% of its energy output from 18% just 4 or 5 years ago, if I've got those figures right. So there's no question that the coal output is diminishing, but what's causing that will be one of the crucial links to show in succeeding in this suit.
So what are these asset managers, have they said anything in response to these suits?
So far, no. They haven't yet given us their position. We're waiting. We're hoping to get that position and put it in an update in our story. But I'll tell you what they're asking the court to do. They're asking the court, it's kind of interesting, one of the possible asks, if necessary, is asking the court to force these giant money managers, the top 3 U.S. money managers, to divest themselves of these coal holdings. We'll see if it happens, but that is one of the things the suit seeks.